Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself, I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
What's going on, everybody? Thanks for being with us. It is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Happy Monday afternoon to you. Man, I hope that drive home is a little bit easier today now that you know that you've got official working for the weekend vibes. Because every weekend from here on out is going to be amazing. Jeremiah Jensen, Alex Curie. JJ, what's up, man? Good weekend of college.
So many
and,
thoughts,
NFL
so many
football?
things going on in my brain because of everything we witnessed this weekend. I just love football season. I love the NFL. I love college football. I love high school football. I love football. And because of all that, I just love this time of year. And so every weekend, yeah, it's like you're saying. It's just, yeah, we're working for the weekend. We can't wait to get to the next one. And with the NFL, with the college thing, I just can't wait to see what's next. You're looking at Utah. They got a big game coming up against Utah State because it's an in-state game. We all know where Utah State's at. That's okay. And then BYU is going to Laramie. That brings back all this sentimental stuff from my childhood. I grew up in Wyoming, by the way. And so this game used to mean a lot.
Big
back
Cowboys
in the 80s
fan,
and
right?
90s.
Big Cowboys fan when you're in fifth grade?
No.
Or in the brown and gold?
But it was fun to see the contrast in fan bases.
That's interesting because
and the vitriol of one and the arrogance of the other.
So you
being
were
very honest.
The arrogance of Wyoming, is that what you're talking about?
Right, yes. And the vitriol of the BYU fan. No, I think you got it the other way around.
Now, here's what I was going to say. Because where you grew up, too, this is the Star Valley area, right? Is that
yes.
Okay, so you've got a lot of built-in BYU fans and then a lot of built-in Wyoming fans, right? Like, isn't that what you kind of have in that area, too?
Yeah,
like,
you have a lot of members
there's
in the
a lot
church
of
that live in Wyoming.
So there's a lot of split.
And you have a lot of people that have very strong feelings the other way.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's going to be fun this weekend. Well,
And
we'll see.
you go back to the 80s and 90s, and BYU, there was an arrogance about them, and they earned it. Remember the Sports Illustrated article that the most hated team was 1992?
Yeah.
93? You can imagine how Wyoming fans felt about BYU.
Oh.
And there was times in the remember the late 80s, Wyoming won a couple WAC titles. They got the best of BYU during that era. And then it kind of went back and forth. Remember then 8 years later, remember 1996, that epic WAC championship game. There's a great history between these two schools. I don't think we're going to see that on Saturday because Wyoming sucks.
Hold on a minute.
But it brings back all these memories and feelings.
Hey, Jeremy, is there a trophy? Yeah. Is there a trophy? Will you look up and see if there's a... Did somebody win a trophy this weekend? An Idaho, Wyoming? I
No,
I just
I
wonder...
don't think they've ever come together. And
there's not like a...
I don't know if they've ever even been able to sit at a table, period, to even determine what the trophy is.
Yeah. No, the Snake River...
The
Snake
trophy
River trophy
is a flying bag of urine. Or an empty bottle of Jack Daniels. Because that's what comes flying out of the stands at the end of that game after a Wyoming loss against BYU and Laramie.
Somebody gets to take home a whole... If Idaho wins, they get to take back a giant bag of fireworks from Wyoming.
Yeah. That's your gift.
Yeah. So what's funny is we knew that Idaho...
Stop at Evanston and load up.
After Idaho put on, the type of game they did against Oregon week 1, then we were like, okay, they're probably going to go into Wyoming and win, and they did.
Yeah.
You've got an 0-2 Wyoming team. You got to be careful, BYU fans. You can't just think to yourself, it'll be nice getting 3-0, because I honestly started letting myself go down that road. Oh, yeah, get 3-0 in non-conference play, that was the dream. 2-1 was the expectation, right?
Yeah.
And so now you're going, well, this thing's open up. But I'm telling you, you got to watch out.
Yep. We'll go in depth on BYU's start to the season here shortly, but that non-conference schedule turned out to be not as daunting as we thought.
Let's get the show officially started. What we do is we tell you who brings us the program every day, and that is the folks at G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, nutritious boost. And let's get the show started. Let's get it going. We start things with the cut. We get it all officially underway, and then we can start Man, football season's way underway, so let's get it going and let's keep it going right here with The Cut.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Cam went out, everything kind of deflated, which was disappointing. Exact opposite should happen. If you lose a key player, everyone else needs to pick up their game and pick up the slack. It's not just on Isaac Wilson to come in and pick it up. It's everyone around him. And so that's something that was probably the most disappointing thing in the game, is just the way we let the wind completely come out of our sails and not continue to move the football.
I thought the same thing, JJ, where I was like, look, everybody started to get after. I had it. So I was at some youth football games on Saturday, and this is mid the Utah game. We're watching, and people are watching, and people are looking at their phones. I'm definitely kind of following along here. And some 15-year-old, because this is the way 15-year-olds are, you've got a teenager who, could say something like this. Mine definitely say stuff like this. Oh, man, Isaac Wilson is trash. And I didn't say anything, but I kept thinking to myself, I bet there's a version of this that's being thought by some of the fans where they're like, well, this kid's not as good as we thought he was going to be. And it was like,
oh, yeah, there was.
He's been put in two different situations that aren't ideal, right? Where Andy Ludwig in the first week was like, yeah, we put him in a weird spot in the first week. And now you're not expecting that your quarterback's going to go down and get hurt. Now you have to be ready for it. But so far, I don't look at this and say, like, you got to look at the running back room. You got to look at all sorts of things. I don't want to start blaming Isaac Wilson for what happened on Saturday, because it was 23-0, and there's a reason that you started to go, all right, well, this team, like Baylor had, I think, 17 yards of offense with like a minute left in the second quarter. They had 17 total yards of offense. This game wasn't going to be in question, but it was definitely a spurts and starts kind of a situation as soon as Cam Rising went out of the game. And you're right, like, I haven't seen such a massive, like, deflated team of somebody going out of the game maybe since Aaron Rodgers last year with the Jets, where you're just like, man, everything just hit a wall, and then nothing's right since then. And I don't know what to think about it, except for that Cam Rising should sit out this week, right? If you watch this game and you go, okay, now with Isaac Wilson being able to prepare for a week, I don't know what Cam Rising looks like. Now, if he can go at all, he's going to go, but I don't know what the situation is going to be. But I was bummed for Isaac Wilson because he was put into a bad spot, and the rest of the team didn't respond either. But they're not getting the criticism that he does.
So I'll respond to everything you just said. Isaac Wilson, not good enough. You have to be better than that. 2, he was put in a tough spot. He didn't get 80% of the reps in practice like Cam did. He only got the 20.
Right,
and it's tough to ask him to go out there. Plus, they really, really went conservative, which I don't think was fair to him either. That was very predictable. You want to continue to be dynamic offensively. They didn't run anything like that Money Parks touchdown run, right? Technically a pass, but it was a touchdown pass because it was pushed forward. But that play was awesome. Where'd all that go? Well, they completely went conservative, right?
Right.
So that's not fair to Isaac, but Isaac has to be better. And I think there was a lot of, is this our backup quarterback? And that's not fair to Isaac. He's a true freshman. He's not getting the reps. That's not what we're saying here. He's going to be great, but not right now. And that's a problem for them. You cannot have a game like that where your quarterback goes out of the game and everybody just stops. It felt like everything stopped. And I'm putting this on the coaches too. Like, why did panic? Why did you go conservative all of a sudden? Like, you got to keep putting your foot on the gas. Baylor was one more play on offense away from making that a really scary situation. You jump out 23-0. Everything's great. Plus, they've got all kinds of issues. Like, there's some stuff they got to clean up. Their special teams on the kicking side was bad.
It was wild.
2 missed field goals and an extra point. Mm-hmm. Now, what saved you on Saturday from an embarrassing situation? Your defense is unbelievable. Like, they are awesome. They set up the offense with a short field for one of those touchdowns, the Mekhi Bernard touchdown. And then the special teams had the return for the touchdown. If you don't get those 2 plays, the strip sack and that, what kind of conversation are we having today?
Well, and that's with the Baylor team, by the way, who basically had no quarterback. Like, DeQuan Finn.
He's not a power 4 quarterback. He can't throw the ball down the field.
So there are question marks there. But isn't that what makes weekends like this one coming up fun?
100%.
That's what makes it fun, because then you go, because I've never – look, last year Okay, both Utah and BYU fan bases have very similar things going on right now, which is PTSD feelings from last year creeping into the brain and being like, oh my gosh, what if Cam Rising can't go? The entire team falls apart.
That's what happened on Saturday.
Oh my gosh, Jake Retzlaff looks like the same Jake Retzlaff from last year.
Cam's out. Oh, here we're getting 2023 again. And it was the same stuff. The offense bogged down.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden on defense they can't tackle dudes. Here's another thing. There was something that happened on Saturday that is not being talked about that is of a major concern. That was an injury that happened on defense. The brains of your defensive operation on the field, Karene Reed, has an ankle injury.
Yeah.
Right?
Ugh.
How long does that linger?
Yeah.
And how much did that affect him? So we get into Cam Rising and moving forward because they won the game. They survived it. They looked great for 1.5 quarters. They didn't look great for the rest, but they win 23-12 against a Power 4 opponent. Great. Okay, you got that win, double-digit win. Now you move forward. Everyone's looking at Utah State saying that's not that big of a deal. Utah can probably beat them with Isaac Wilson at quarterback and all these other things. That's not what I want to talk about here. But what about how are you preparing for what's next? Because that's what really matters.
Because you're going to get into Big 12 play.
I need to see Cam Rising on the field in Logan.
Yep.
Because you need to be at 100% with that offense. You got to get all this, whatever. Where was Brant Keithy on Saturday? 1 catch, 5 yards? That can't happen. That can't happen. This offense is capable of being so much better. Where are all these weapons? There was some weird stuff going on there. Like, I don't know. Like, where's Jalen Glover? Charlie Vincent had 2 carries. Jalen Glover didn't have
0.
any? What's going on there?
Yeah, don't know.
I don't. And Mekhi was great. There was plenty of great bright spots. Mekhi Bernard was great.
Does he end up being the guy here henceforth?
He's the guy.
He's got to be,
He's
right?
the guy until
if you're not
further
going
notice.
to ask anybody, like if everybody else can't be bothered to show up and be the guy, then
give Mike Mitchell credit for going out there. I thought his leg fell off, and he came back out and played. Like, that kid's tough. Okay, I get why the coaches love him. We all see it. So they're good there. The defense is just phenomenal. I cannot say enough about how good that defense is. As long as a guy like Karene Reed stays healthy, you're good there. What has to happen is Cam needs to go out there and play in Logan. If what I'm hearing is correct, it's not a broken anything, right?
Right.
So this needs a little healing up, some stitches, get it good.
It is on the throwing hand, so
Hopefully
you wonder
he can play in Logan because they need him to play against Utah State to fine-tune that offense so when they go to Stillwater, they are ready to go. Because if they play offensively like they did on Saturday, and I know with Cam, they were sputtering with Cam in there.
Yeah, a little bit.
He missed Caleb Lohner on that open touchdown. Like, there were moments where it's like, you guys got to be. We have high expectations for this team, and this is what they want, right? They don't want us sitting here patting them on the back for what they did on Saturday.
They
right?
were on their way to 60-0. That's what it felt like.
That felt like we were texting. We were
going, oh my gosh!
I'm going to throw Slam to the bus here. He texted in the middle of the second quarter. He goes, "I remember my prediction
because it was right
45-0.
Because it was 23-3.
They were tracking that way
before Cam went out.
Yeah,
and it was like, this he might be right freaking on. But yeah, I mean, there's stuff that makes you feel like, you know, you can wring your hands over a lot of things that happened this weekend. Let's listen to what Kyle Whittingham, though, said about Cam Rising, that injury. I know they don't like doing updates on people's injuries, but considering the background that we have with Cam Rising's injuries and all those things,
you're right.
Obviously,
PTSD.
Obviously, Whit, feels a little bit more like he has to address it. Here's what he said about it.
As far as update, reminder, we don't give any injury updates unless they're season ending, and so we won't say who's going to play quarterback even when we know. That's just not how we do it. So we'll see what happens. But other than Cam going out, we seem to stay fairly healthy in that game.
Didn't feel like it. Didn't feel like it. I don't know. I don't know what Mike Mitchell's situation is, but he did come back. So I guess in the end, they might ask him to keep. I mean, there might be less there than we thought. But, obviously, it's not just that. It was the concerns about how, because initially at the very front end of the game, you saw how much they were trying to look at Dorian Singer and get to him, right?
Yeah, they took that shot deep early.
And you know what?
It was this close.
I thought he was going to catch it.
Close.
I thought he should have caught it, too. So here's what he said about the passing game and where that's at right now.
Well, when Cam's in there, no concern at all. I think that we didn't snap the ball a whole lot of times in the first half, and his numbers weren't bad for maybe closer to half a game. But had Cam been able to stay in and we'd have kept throwing the ball, I think the numbers would have been about right. When Isaac came in this, particularly in the second half, we were really trying to just get out of there with the win, and we're just doing our best to protect the football.
Okay. Is that calling out Isaac Wilson a little bit? Yeah, with Cam in, we have no concerns.
Yeah, no, I don't. Like, we know where they're at, but what I appreciate him being honest. They went way conservative. Like, they just said, all right, we're up 23-3. Let's just wrap this up. Like 20. Yeah, they were being extra cautious. They thought, take care of the football. Let's get out of here. Let's get this figured out later. Because you're right. As soon as Cam went out, the air went out of the building, and it was weird. It was a game of survival after that at that point. What, they have 3 yards of total offense in the third quarter?
Oh, boy.
It was rough.
Yeah. And some of that is the shock of, is Cam out? Is Cam going to be out? Like, out?
I can't.
So how many people? I know a bunch of people who were there at the stadium, right, including colleagues of ours, like people who actually work in the media. But then there are, like, fans who I was chatting with that were like, dude, that entire building, the air was sucked out totally from the building as soon as Cam went down. And it would be, because you start to go, what is this whole season going to turn into if this is more serious than what we're hearing afterward? And it's not just that. It's when you, like, the energy starts to come back if the team picks up exactly where they left off because here's the thing. The fans get nervous, but if Isaac Wilson had thrown for 205 yards in the second half and 2 touchdowns, people would have been, the fight song would have been just as loud. The fans would have been just as excited because they would have been like, okay, even with Cam down, we can kind of figure this thing out. This is the future. There was none of that. There was everyone after the game, like, it was a lot of, I don't know. Like, everybody felt very weird about that win. And I get it and by the way, it's because it's a bad Baylor team. It was a terrible.
They're not
like,
good.
Dave Aranda was like, thank heavens Cam went down because my job may have been taken away from me after the game. If it would have gone the way that it was going, Utah looked like the best team in the entire conference for that quarter and a half. And then after that it went, boy, the fortunes may have changed. Now, I don't want to get too dramatic because I don't think that it's going to be – they'll have to reset. And this defense does not have bad weeks typically. But it felt like a little bit of a bad week. Felt like a bad week. Felt like it was one. It doesn't
feel good after that because of what we're talking about. If you're a playoff contender, you can't let that thing turn into what it was. You can't be up 23-0, dominating Baylor, and then one guy gets injured, has to come out, and you just completely fall apart in all phases. Can't happen.
Here's what now, bright spot. Of course, our weekly interview with Mekhi Bernard. That'll be a fun one because he was the guy that showed up and showed out, and he was the guy who you could rely on, and they had to, and you got a good game out of Mekhi.
Very proud of Mekhi Bernard for what he did. He 19 carries for over 100 yards and 6.2, I believe, was his yards per carry. So he had a really productive day for us. And as I mentioned after the game, is as close to being RB1 as we have right now, and maybe he'll take that over. We'll see. We'll see how things progress.
That's what you expected out of the veteran leadership of the rest of the team, too. Like, that's a guy who went, all right, we got our guy's out. You know, number 1 is out. We all got to show up, and Mekhi Bernard did. This is not something that Kyle Whittingham likes to say very often because you brought it up as the special teams, but they make a difference. There's a reason that third phase is so huge for the Utes, and when it's not there, it really is a loud situation. It ringing in your ears if you're Coach Whittingham.
Special teams was disappointing. We need to be better on special teams. We missed 2 very makeable field goals. We botched a PAT, had a couple touchbacks on punt. You shouldn't have a couple touchbacks all year, let alone in one game. And so there's things to work on there.
Yeah, it just wasn't clean enough. Like, this is we saw the potential of that team through 2 quarters. But then we also saw how the wheels can come off this. It's like, which way is this thing going to go? They're just too good to have the moments they had on Saturday to come away feeling good about what we saw. They can be one of the top 5 teams in the country, and then they showed us that there's also a fragility here, and I'm really worried about that. But they need to move forward and solve some of these things. Maybe in the long run, you get a blessing out of a 23-12 win over Baylor that should have been a 45-0 win.
Yeah.
Does anyone else feel like that it should have been this close?
No, and that's why it feels icky, right?
They were one more play away. So Josh Cameron gets that 47-yard touchdown, and he's just running through the defense, and everybody's like whiff, whiff, whiff. Like what? We stopped. It's like they stopped trying to be physical. But then what was great about that is you need to give some credit to that offense. Mekhi Bernard just went out there on that fourth quarter drive, and they grinded it out. They did what they had to do in that situation, but it shouldn't have come to that. It feels like when Cam got hurt, everybody should have rallied and played better, and it just didn't feel like that.
Let's take a break. We'll come back. We've got more sound to break up and talk about Kyle Whittingham addressing the quarterback issue a little bit more, and we'll talk about Isaac Wilson and the pressure that's now on this kid and whether or not he's going to be the guy who gets to start this week at Utah State. I don't think people think to themselves, oh, Utah's going to get upset by Utah State, considering how Utah State played against USC this weekend. But stranger things have happened. It's a weird time, obviously, if you're trying to figure out, do you want to force Cam into starting if he's not 100%? You go, JJ, do you put the glove on him? Do you put the Tom Brady glove on the throwing hand?
You put a mitten, you put an oven mitt on that hand, and you let him throw with an oven mitt. You just need to have him out there on Saturday.
It almost buoys the team up, just him being in the huddle, right? Like, I don't think I've seen somebody who's had such an effect on
you just need him out there.
Yeah, the entire positive vibes of a team being put on the shoulders of one guy. That's Cam Rising. We'll take the break. We'll come back. We've got more to go right around the corner. Stay with us. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? It's a Saturday matinee battle for the Utes as they head north to Logan to battle Utah State. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, welcome back, everybody. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen. It's a Monday. You know what that means? There's just not enough time in the day to be able to break down all of our feelings about what happened this weekend in football, at the collegiate level, the NFL fully underway, and proving again why it is king of television, because it is unpredictable. And yet, there are some things that are absolutely predictable every year now. We'll get to that. We've got tons to chat about. Do you think that, we do have a breaking news sounder. A couple things we got to get to. Number one, from the Hollywood desk, I'll break some news. Darth Vader, Terrence Mann, all of these different characters that you love that James Earl Jones played, the voice of CNN. James Earl Jones has passed away at 93. First of all, one of the greats. You talk about an iconic voice. Some people do. I mean, he's one of the guys, man. He's
There's
one of those
no doubt.
guys.
As we grew up, he was obviously Star Wars is a massive thing. I mean, he's the voice of Darth Vader. He's also the voice of Mufasa in the Lion King. So, everybody that's our age when they were a kid, like he was the voice, right? This is CNN. He does that too. But he also had a lot of great appearances in sports movies, as you'll recall. You mentioned Terrence Mann in Field of Dreams.
You told me that your finger was a gun. That was pretty good, right?
That was pretty good. The Great White Hope, The Sandlot.
Sandlot, dude. Yeah, man.
And there was others as well. So he had a massive impact on pop culture, and he's a great American, and we're certainly going to miss his. I mean, obviously, his age 93 had a great life, and he wasn't working at the level he was before. But
I was shocked when you said 93. I thought maybe you would have said 82 or something.
No.
But man,
great to celebrate the life of one of the great pop culture icons in our country.
Jeremy,
history.
we're not done with breaking news sounders. This one from the NFL injury desk. And this one, of course, hits home for a lot of BYU fans. What do you have?
Rams wide receiver and former BYU star Puka Nacua has been placed on IR due to his knee injury. I believe it's a sprained PCL. He will miss at least 4 games, according to his head coach, Sean McVay. Fantasy managers
going nuts everywhere.
Freaking out now.
Well,
you're not going to have Puka for at least 4 weeks.
I was glad to hear it's mixed emotions. I was glad to hear not out for the year, but you do wonder, like, if you just keep re-aggravating that same injury, like, is this going to be a year of inconsistency? This is also a little bit of what
the entire preseason. It's still not better.
And we also saw this version of Puka in college, right? We thought maybe he got over it, but it's tough too because he had such a good offseason. Everybody talked about how much better shape he was in, how much he worked out with Cooper Kupp, and so hoping best wishes to Puka Nacua, hoping he gets better, and obviously at least 4 weeks out. We'll see. See, it's not that difficult, Kyle Whittingham. Yeah, he'll be out 3 weeks. That's all you got to say. Just tell us what's going on. Nominate your youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination, kslsports.com/contest. Listen every Thursday. JJ and I read those winners off. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers who make an impact in your community with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. All right. Isaac Wilson. Don't know if he's going to get the start this week. You tell me.
Cam's still listed number 1 on the depth chart. We didn't get any indication from Kyle Whittingham's remarks today that they're going to go in a different direction.
I ain't telling you.
That we were told that Cam's injury is not serious, and I am led to believe that Cam will be starting in Logan.
It's hard to think that
Utah State.
Right, it's hard to think that a guy like Cam, who's missed the type of time that he has, being at the level of competitive nature that he has, like, just will not allow him. And Witt, by the way, is the same guy too. It would be like, well, do you think you can go? Yeah, I'm going. Then it's like, hey, and unless a doctor goes, don't do it at all. Look at his hand. You know, who knows what it looks like?
The X-rays came back negative. His hand's not broken. His fingers aren't broken. So, I mean, do the math. We know he cut his finger, right?
Rub some dirt on it? Is that what you're saying?
I'm sure they had to do more than rub some dirt on it because he had to leave the game and get it taken care of.
Yeah.
But
rub some of those black beads from the AstroTurf in it. You'll be good.
We've all had a laceration. How long does it take for you to feel comfortable if it's on a place where you use it a lot? If you use your hands a lot and you got a cut on your finger, it's sore, it hurts, it's tender, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So it's probably just going to be a matter of pain tolerance, and does it affect his grip? Does it affect that? Because trust me, Cam's not going to want to go out there if his hand's so sore from the injury that he doesn't feel comfortable throwing the football because he doesn't want to, obviously perform poorly.
Do you think that you're like, man, is your hand okay? That's tough. And then you move straight on to, if you're Andy Ludwig and you're Kyle Whittingham, they had to have had that discussion about you got to be smarter than that, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
Because that was, I get it. The Baylor player, because they didn't end up throwing a late hit or anything.
No.
It was definitely an extended, there's
no doubt.
There was a shove way past the line.
And that shove caused him to go into the Gatorade buckets, and that's where his hand injury occurred.
But
so yes, that should have been penalized. It should never have happened.
But you also got to be Cam Rising. You got to be smart, right? You got to be smarter than that.
Well, I'm going to use another coach. We were going through Sound. What did Kalani Sitake say about Jake Retzloff?
Got to take care of the
interceptions.
Take care of the freaking ball.
Take a sack.
Yeah,
it's not going to kill us.
Right,
Just take a sack. We'll move on to the next play.
In that case, he was so far outside the pocket, he could have gotten rid of it way before then.
Yes, he held on to it too long.
No point. And that's the dreaded, please don't throw it back into the field of play. When you're at that boundary anyway, and you go, I'm going to throw it into. I'm going to be that superhero. How many times have we seen that picked off, right? And so you
100%.
go, I'm not. This isn't worth it. Got to be smarter than that. My team needs me. Live to play another down. That's what you got to do. Here's what Kyle Whittingham said about Isaac Wilson, about whether or not he was going to get more reps during practice this week, and he responded.
When you split the reps in practice between the ones and the twos, it's not 50-50. It's like 80-20 or 70-30. You get the first guy tuned up completely and get as many reps for the second guy as you can. I think one thing that would definitely help Isaac is if he got those 80% or 70% of the reps all week long. I know he would be more advanced, also just more experienced, and so I think he's going to continue to get better. We certainly believe that. We have a lot of confidence in him. It's just he's not ready to go out and throw the ball 45 times and, against especially a team like Baylor, and just not in his development, he's not quite there yet.
It is a tough balance, though. If you're there, and if there is any question whether or not, if the coaches say, "Hey, let's get that hand better for this week," giving Isaac Wilson more reps in practice would obviously benefit him. But yeah, you don't split the reps. I mean, that's obvious during the week. If Cam Rising wasn't hurt at all, you would expect him to get 90-10, right? Like that's what you expect out of the first string guy.
Right.
That's what you want. And so if you start to have to play that game, if he's not 100% and you start to have to go, well, let's split it up here. Let's go 50-50 just in case. Then that puts everybody at a disadvantage. Now, not less Cam, right? Because he knows the offense well. But like you were saying, there are so many weapons on that offense. How is it that Brand Keithy only had one catch for 5 yards?
Unacceptable.
How is it that and they were absolutely feeding Dorian Singer and obviously trying to give him the ball as much as possible.
I'm sure they saw something on tape that they were trying to attack with.
Yeah,
They right out of the gate threw one deep to Dorian.
But also, he's the best wide receiver that you have, and we keep hearing about how important it is to involve him. And you didn't bring him here to not throw it to him. And you've got to show him that, like, hey, we're gonna put up here. We're gonna actually show you that we brought you in to be able to extend that passing game. Does the playbook change with Isaac Wilson? Absolutely. One quarterback to the next, it always does. But Utah has its way of doing things, and you've got to adapt to that playbook just as much as the other way around.
If we feel that he's not ready to go and Isaac is getting the lion's share of the reps in practice, then he'd have just about the entire game plan at his disposal. And so that's to be determined, but that's how it would be determined if he ends up being the guy.
The entire playbook at his disposal, as long as Andy Ludwig signs off on it, right? I mean, in the end.
Well, if you get those 80% reps,
yeah,
all of a sudden you can work on that stuff in practice. Did he work? So let's say, for instance, that great play they drew up with the reverse, where Money Parks keeps it instead of giving it up. That was just an absolute brilliant play because you're using a guy who had a great week in week one to kind of be the distraction because they all went towards him, and then Money Parks walks into the end zone. Can you run that kind of a play with Isaac Wilson? Well, I think if you give Isaac that 80% of reps in practice, suddenly you can work on those type of plays that you weren't working with him earlier, so you can get that timing down. Because that play is not as easy to pull off as they made it look.
Oh yeah,
that's terrific execution from a veteran quarterback and some players that really, really sold that well. Money Parks was just the fake handoff. Everything was terrific. So that's a play that takes a lot of work and a lot of practice.
But we also know that these players, like good coaches, and Andy Ludwig is one of these guys that will say, what do you want to do, though? What do you like? Tell me out of this thing that you feel like you can execute amazingly.
Look, and it's apples and oranges, maybe. But like what happened last year? Cam never played, right? So they had Bryson Barnes. They have Nate Johnson.
Oh, boy. Are you saying they might see a...
Did they ever have the full playbook at their disposal?
Are you saying there's going to be
because those guys couldn't do half of what they wanted to do with Cam. Now, is Isaac an upgrade there? I believe he is.
Oh, for sure.
But he's a true freshman, and he hasn't had those reps.
Yeah.
He's still learning. Throwing touchdowns at Corner Canyon and running for 1,000 yards at Corner Canyon is different than doing it at a Power 4 level. There's a big gap that he's got to make up, and he's working on it. But I think this was too early in this situation to have to think we got to go to Isaac Wilson. I don't think anybody up there, or even us, expected that we would see so much Isaac Wilson so early.
We thought maybe that they would go, hey, let's figure out strategically where we can put him in 4 games this year to keep that red shirt.
That's exactly what they discussed. Not
this.
This.
There might not be any version of that now, right?
Cam didn't break a leg or anything like that. Okay, so I think he plays on Saturday. I think they have to. If Cam's hand, if the swelling and the soreness and the tenderness is subsided, then they've got to go out there because they have got to get this thing rolling in preparation for Stillwater. Because if they play offensively like they did on Saturday in Stillwater, they're coming home with an L.
All right, here's what we'll do. We'll take the break. We'll come back. We've got our weekend warriors, the people who won the weekend here for you. Upsets, local heroes, and maybe even a local team that doesn't get enough pub who had a big win over the weekend as well. So stay right here with us. More to go. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? The Aggies welcome in the Utes for a battle in Maverick Stadium in Logan. Catch all the play-by-play action of the Utes and Aggies right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, happy Monday to you. It is JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Mondays during football season, one of our favorite days to be able to break down all of it over the weekend. By the way, how was that Game Night Live game on Friday night between Orem and West Jordan?
Blowout City. Congrats to the Orem Tigers.
They're pretty good, huh?
Really, really good. They got a junior quarterback named Tayden Kaava who threw the ball all over the place, 4 touchdowns, ran one in. Orem is a legit 5A state title contender. West Jordan's a good team. They got some good young talent, but they're a young team. They should win their region. But Orem is that's the next level team.
Where are we this week, bro?
We're going to Provo. Timpview is hosting Springville, so you get to have your first chance to visit the brand new Timpview High School.
Oh, okay.
They remodeled, revamped the whole stadium. Everything is brand new.
The stadium, though.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, same spot, same location for the school, but they did a massive building and property overhaul.
Well, we love those Game Night Live games, and we love doing the broadcast from there. So Friday we'll be out there for our Football Fridays. Riley and Sly, it's starting to become a lot of fun. We've only done 2 of the weeks, and those shows are as good as it gets when you start breaking down all the games that are going to happen over the weekend. Riley, of course, sneaks in all of the promotion of the local players in the high school games he can.
I must say, I love the promise of Sly's BYU breakdowns. Like, nobody knows BYU football quite like Sly does.
And Riley says he'll bring the booze. So
there you go.
Hey, bosses, no one's bringing booze. It's just funny that Riley said that. Because
that's the last person that would ever bring booze.
Oh, my goodness. The sound bites for this Friday are going to be phenomenal.
If that's what you heard last week, wait till this week. We're going to have some fun.
All right. Weekend Warriors, all brought to you by the folks at Gillette Heating and Air. Right now, seasonal maintenance. Get it done on your furnace. Yes, you already saw. I mean, I know it was warm this weekend, but we're all looking at each other, and we know that weather. We're 3 or 4 weeks into like the actual football season for like the kids, you know, and pretty soon we're all going to be putting on hoodies, and it's going to be cold, and your furnace has got to get figured out. So get with the folks at Gillette Heating and Air. $59 for that furnace to get its seasonal maintenance done. Get it ready for the winter. GilletteHVAC.com. That's GilletteHVAC.com. Okay, of course, the big upset of the weekend was the massively overrated Notre Dame Fighting Irish taking on the Northern Illinois Huskies and paying them to get beaten. Here's what it sounded like.
He's lining it up. 5 seconds left. NIU up 16-14. 62-yarder. Snap, hold, Jeter's kick. It's blocked! It's blocked! It's blocked! Picked up by NIU! Picked up by NIU! The Huskies have done it! The Huskies with the biggest upset in NIU history! They come to South Bend, Indiana, and they knock off the number 5 team in the country. NIU 16, Notre Dame 14. The football gods were shining down on NIU.
Gosh, it wasn't just the coach who cried. I guess it was the broadcaster,
Well,
too.
everybody's shedding tears. Well, I mean, think about it. Did anybody give them a chance?
No, and
I totally overlooked it, and then I'm watching, it's happening during the Utah-Baylor
and we
game.
saw it was close, and
I'm
we were
bouncing back and forth a little bit, and I thought, that's interesting. Northern Illinois is giving
Good
Notre
for
Dame a
them.
scare. Yeah,
Good for
exactly.
them.
Okay, Notre Dame's going to blow them out in the second half.
Right.
It never happened. Notre Dame.
It's
What the heck, man?
It's a wild deal. It's a wild deal. And you know what? Good for them, and also thank you. Because at least for the next 5 or 6 weeks, we won't even think about Notre Dame.
Especially not with the schedule they're playing.
Just wait till they go 11-1, and then we have to start putting them back in that conversation, the college football playoff.
Don't speak that into existence.
Bleh. I already hate it. I already hate all the pundits for talking about it. All right. Next up. Oh, yeah, Teo Johnson. You saw this guy. When you score on defense, it's a good day for Kyle Whittingham typically. They were on their way, and this was a part of that one.
50. Made the decision for him. Hankins had it blocked. Teo Johnson on the move. Fano and Fillinger got the hand on it to spring him free. Teo Johnson touchdown.
Always good to score on defense for the Utah Utes. That's one that you have to have. Honestly, Morgan Scalley and Kyle Whittingham, they were on their way to having like a picture-perfect win for this team to be able to get, because everyone knew, you're not this isn't a Big 12 matchup, but it is. And you were going, this is your new king of the Big 12. And then as soon as Cam
It was a
goes
measuring
out,
stick game.
Yeah.
And they were on their way to measuring really well, and then boom. So I don't know what to think. Still processing it.
the SUU Thunderbirds get an FBS win, and its first one in their first one since 2023 or since 2013, excuse me, knocking off UTEP. Now it's UTEP, so it's basically an FCS school. But here's what it sounded like when they got the win over the weekend.
2nd and 10 for Southern Utah. Lamson on the carry, and he's got big yardage across the 30. Does he have enough to go? He does. Touchdown. Southern Utah, 47 yards on the carry.
All right, there you go.
First game ever broadcasted from some guy's bathroom.
Could Southern Utah not afford to send somebody to El Paso? Or maybe they just sort of like, look, nobody needs to be in El Paso for this game. Hey. Nobody is in El Paso for this game.
Respect to Delane Fitzgerald. They took their licking at Utah. They got their check, and then they go out and they beat UTEP. How cool is that?
Here's the other thing about UTEP. Now, listen, my brother played linebacker at UTEP for 4 straight years, all right?
You know the history.
He will be the first to tell you that this program should be shut down. And you know what? Exhibit 745 is this last weekend, losing to Southern Utah at the Sun Bowl. I've been in that stadium too many times. Like, no human should have to be at that. Look, I had to go watch my brother play games, and it's funny when they do the calls. Get on your feet for the Miners. Levántase para los Miners. Everything's bilingual. It's the best. I think it's because you can actually hear you can actually hear the PA system in Ciudad Juárez.
Juárez is just across the road.
The amount of times
the stadium was literally on the border.
I don't know why my dad allowed us to walk across that bridge to go across to Ciudad Juárez as many times as he did. Dad, can we go get a switchblade? You bet, son. Oh my gosh, UTEP, shut her down. It's official.
Hey, give Southern Utah some credit.
No,
man.
I know.
That's a great win.
Good for them.
That's fun. Delane Fitzgerald's doing a great job there.
Lamson,
Timpview High School.
183 yards on the ground. Phenomenal. Awesome. Plus, with a name like Targi, that's pretty cool, man. Skiing family, probably?
He had 20 carries, 183 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
That's a good average per right there. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. When we do, we've got more to just break up over the weekend and things that happened, things that did not happen, where BYU fans are at now. We talked about where Utah fans' heads are likely right now. The worry is real, but you're undefeated. BYU, same exact scenario, but for different reasons. We'll talk about it next, right here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Take the Zone